Alright, so a few days back I went for this Vipassana meditation retreat, and any words, any description of what happens there, I've realized always falls short of what the experience actually was, of what it actually taught me, of what it actually made me realize. So I have decided not to explain too much on the logistics and in terms of how it helped me and stuff like that, but instead I thought I will go through these discourses. So just to give a context, if you're not aware, Vipassana 10-day course is a beginner's course offered by Shri S.N. Goenka. So he was the founder who had brought this technique to India and the world from his native Burma. And it is an ancient Buddhist technique that he wanted everyone to learn. So this was the very technique rather to say, by which Buddha was able to transform himself from Siddhartha Gautama into the Buddha. So Buddha, as you may already be aware, refers to someone who is enlightened, and Buddha says that there is not just one Buddha, the Gautama the Buddha, but there could be many Buddhas who were before Buddha, who were contemporary to Buddha, and who can be after Buddha. So during these 10-day discourses, 10-day silence retreat, the entire day, most of the day, we are doing meditation over there. And towards the evening, there is a 1.5 hours of the discourses which are played. Most of these discourses are recorded, and this book that you see over here exactly talks about the summary of those discourses. So I thought it would be a good idea to do a deep dive into each of these discourses and look at it. So maybe what I'll do is I'll read through these and maybe scribble a few things here and there as and when required, and maybe in that process we'll learn few things. Liberation can be gained only by practice, never by mere discussion. Exactly, that was what I was intending to in the beginning of the video today. Sharing any intellectual discussion about what enlightenment is, what liberation is, would not serve the purpose. Only by living that kind of a meditative life would be able to give us a deeper glimpse into what Vipassana is all about. A course in Vipassana meditation is an opportunity to take concrete steps towards liberation. In such a course, the participant learns how to free the mind of the tensions and prejudices that disturb the flow of daily life. Right? So that's exactly what I experienced as well. By doing so, one begins to discover how to live each moment peacefully, productively, and happily. At the same time, one starts progressing towards the highest goal to which mankind can aspire: purity of mind, freedom from all suffering, and full enlightenment. None of this can be attained just by thinking about it or wishing it. One must take steps to reach the goal. For this reason, in a Vipassana course, the emphasis is always on the actual practice. So in the 10 days, in the 12 hours each day that we spend in meditations, it's only the meditation practice that is of actual importance. There is no other intellectual way that is emphasized over there. No philosophical debates are permitted, no theoretical arguments, no questions that are unrelated to one's own experience. As far as possible, meditators are encouraged to find the answers of their questions within themselves, and which actually happens. I can definitely confirm that with my experience. The teacher provides whatever guidance is needed in the practice, but it is up to each person to implement these guidelines. One has to fight one's own battle, work out one's own salvation. Given this emphasis, still some explanation is necessary to provide a context for the practice. Therefore, every evening of a course, Goenkaji gives a Dhamma talk in order to put in perspective the experiences of that day and to clarify various aspects of the technique. These discourses, he warns, are not intended as intellectual or emotional entertainment. Their purpose is simply to help meditators understand what to do and why, so that they will work in proper way and will achieve the proper results. In these talks that are presented here in condensed form, it is there. The 11 discourses provide a broad overview of the teachings of Buddha, the approach to the subject. However, it is not scholarly or analytical. Instead, the teaching is presented in the way that it unfolds to a meditator as a dynamic, coherent whole. All its different facets are seen to reveal an underlying unity, the experience of meditation. This experience is the inner fire that gives true life and brilliance to the jewel of Dhamma. Now, a lot of times you will keep hearing this word Dhamma, right, in all the Buddhist contexts. So Dhamma is nothing but a Pali representation of the Hindi word Dharma, or which also has a Sanskrit origin, right? Pali translation of Dharma. So during the time of Buddha, around 2500 years ago, Pali was the language of India, and that is where a lot of these terminologies come from. Alright, coming back. So, Goenkaji says this experience is the inner fire that gives true life and brilliance to the jewel of Dhamma. Without this experience, one cannot grasp the full significance of what is said in the discourses. Obviously, we are reading these discourses. We'll read the first discourse hopefully in today's video. However, the super emphasis is this will not be helpful for you if you have not actually done a Vipassana. You may use this for revisiting your Vipassana experiences, but you can still watch this as a new student who has not yet done Vipassana, but do not in any way think of this as an alternative to actually doing the practice. It's not about marketing the practice, it's not about anything else, it's not about proving any point, because Vipassana is not about proving anything to anybody. It's just about realizing it for yourself at your inner level, and what it makes you realize is up to you. It's up to you what life has got for you. I mean, up to you is in the sense that it is up to the backgrounds that you may have, the intertwinings of your life that it may have given, that is what would reveal for you. So everyone has their own unique experience, right? And reading these in no way can be a substitute. So readings are not a substitute to the practice itself. All right. Yeah. So without the experience, one cannot grasp the full significance of what is said in the discourses or indeed in the teachings of Buddha. And let me re-emphasize, we all know all the knowledge that exists. I mean, a lot of us are very intellectual. We have read a lot of books. Some of us, we may have heard all these terms so many times. Life is full of suffering. Cause of suffering is desires and all of those theoretical level of concepts. So don't think that you will be learning anything different per se, but what you would be learning is the real meaning of those teachings, real understanding of those words. Did I not know about Buddha? I had known Buddha for almost 12 years of my life before doing Vipassana. I have known about a lot of intellectual things. I had read a lot of other stuff by Thich Nhat Hanh, by Bhante Gunaratna, mindfulness in plain English, and whatnot. Right? Miracles of Mindfulness, John Kabat-Zinn, and so many other mindfulness thought leaders in their respective spaces, the monks. But reading that, practicing it at your own level, practicing it through a session on the headspace, they are just the surface level of spirituality that you have experienced in your life, I can say. To really, really, really understand what it is to go into that spiritual depth, you have to experience this. We cannot afford to miss doing a Vipassana course in our lifetime. It's free of cost. If there is anything stopping from you from financially, it's okay not to be giving anything in the beginning in your first few courses. If you're a student, if you are not so well to do, go ahead and do it. I mean, there is someone or the other who would have paid for you already, so don't worry about that. But it is something everybody should practice once in their lifetime at least, if not more. Alright, so Goenkaji also says, but this does not mean that there is no place for an intellectual appreciation of the teachings. Intellectual understanding obviously is valuable and acts as support to the meditative practice, even though meditation itself is a progress that goes beyond the limits of the intellect. For this reason, these summaries have been prepared, giving the essential points of each discourse. They are intended mainly to offer inspiration and guidance to those who practice Vipassana meditation as taught by Goenkaji. To others who happen to read them, it is hoped that they will provide encouragement to participate in a Vipassana course and to experience what is here described exactly. So the summaries should not be treated as a do-it-yourself manual for learning Vipassana, a substitute for a 10-day course. No, not at all. So that is exactly what I was saying just a while back. Meditation is a serious matter, especially the Vipassana technique, which deals with the depths of the mind. It should never be approached lightly or casually. The proper way to learn Vipassana is only by joining a formal course where there is a suitable environment for the meditator and a trained guide. If someone chooses to discard this warning and tries to teach themselves the technique only from reading about it, he proceeds at his own risk. Fortunately, courses in Vipassana meditation as taught by S.N. Goenka are now held regularly in many parts of the world. Schedules may be obtained on dhamma.org. The summaries are based on the discourses given by Goenka ji at Vipassana Meditation Center, Massachusetts during August 1983. An exception in the Day 10 summary, which is based on a discourse given at the center in August 1984. While Goenka ji has looked through the material and approved it for publication, he has not had the time to check the text closely. As a result, the reader may find some errors or discrepancies. These are the responsibility of not the teacher, nor of the teaching, but of myself. Criticism will be very welcome. That might help to correct such flaws in the text. May this work help many in their practice of Dhamma. May all beings be happy. Every Dhamma talk actually used to end with this talk. Sabka mangal hoye re. Note on the text. Sayings of Buddha and his disciples are quoted by Goenka ji and are taken from the collections of the discipline Vinaya Pitaka and of discourses Sutta Pitaka of the Pali Canon. A number of quotations appear in both collections, although in such cases only the sutta references are given here. There are also a few quotations from post-canonical Pali literature. In his talks, Goenka ji explains that these passages more often by paraphrase than by word-for-word translation from the Pali. Intention is to give the essence of each passage in ordinary language, stressing its relevance to the practice of Vipassana meditation. Where a Pali passage appears in the summary, the explanation given is that of Goenka ji in the discourses on which the summary is based. At the back of this book, in the section of Pali with English translation, an attempt has been made to give more exact renderings of the passages quoted, still emphasizing the point of view of a meditator. In the text of summaries, the use of Pali words has been kept to the necessary minimum. Where such words are used for the sake of consistency, their plurals are given in the Pali form. For example, the word of Sankara is Sankara. That of Kalapa is Kalapa. Alright, so let us talk about the Day 1 discourse today. Day 1 discourse is all about initial difficulties, the purpose of the meditation, why respiration is chosen as the starting point, the nature of the mind, the reason for the difficulties, and how to deal with them, and the dangers to be avoided. And as I mentioned, most of these are useless if you do not do a Vipassana course itself. So I will skip reading the Pali texts as I'm not great at doing it yet. Day 1 discourse. Initial difficulties. The purpose of this meditation. Why respiration is chosen as the starting point. The nature of the mind. The reason for the difficulties and how to deal with them. And the dangers to be avoided. Maybe to give some context, when we go to any Vipassana center, for example, when I went to mine, So the course starts on a day 0, so where you get to arrive and you get a welcome lecture where you are told about what all you will be going through, what would the practice be, how you have to do it, and then introduction to Anapana happens from a logistics perspective. Maybe if you are to want to understand, so on the logistics end, you are assigned the room, you are assigned a seat in your meditation hall, you are assigned it is called Dhamma hall typically, and you are assigned a seat in your dining. There is a pagoda seat which is assigned a few days later as well for meditating in the cells. So these are the 3 logistical activities that happen. You are required to submit your valuables in this day. Valuables are nothing but your phone, your any other valuables that can be cause of worry for you while you're meditating. If or not they are safe in the room, blah blah blah. Any writing materials, obviously, any reading materials. So you're not supposed to be carrying any of those when you are in the Vipassana. And once day 0 concludes at around 9:30 p.m., you are requested to retire to your rooms, and the next day starts with a gong bell at 4 a.m. Alright. Gong, wake up bell. And then 4:30 is when the meditation starts. Alright, so and this discourse happens somewhere around 7 p.m. in the evening or 1900 hours. That is the discourse time. So now you started at 4:30 a.m. in the morning and went on to meditating with a couple of breaks in the between, one for breakfast, another for the evening, the lunch, and another for the snacks. So after these 3 breaks and a lot of meditation, you are now ready for taking this day 1 discourse. So that is how it goes. So that was the section for someone who has not done a Vipassana yet. Those of us who have done it, we know it. Alright. The first day is full of great difficulties and discomforts, partly because one is not accustomed to sit for a day long and to try to meditate, but mostly because of the type of meditation that you have started practicing. Awareness of respiration, nothing but respiration. It would have been easier and faster to concentrate the mind without all these discomforts if, along with awareness of respiration, one had started repeating a word, a mantra, a god's name, or if one had started imagining the shape or a form of a deity, but you are required to observe bare respiration, as it naturally is, without regulating it. No word or imagined form may be added. So yeah, that's one important aspect that has to be taken care of during the Vipassana, and which is time and again told as well, not to mix the practice with anything else. Any previous beliefs, any previous chantings with anything else, right? So that is of utmost importance, you fully empty your cup as you go there, right? You go with a empty slate with nothing on it. So that's the state to start the Vipassana practice. Alright, let's move on. So Goenkaji is talking about why these are not permitted. All the chantings, mantras, chanting of God's name, focusing on anything else apart from the bare breath, the bare respiration, that is not permitted. The only thing that is permitted is to be able to concentrate on every breath that is going in and every breath that is going out. Nothing else. You can't count the breaths, or you should not count the breaths rather. Alright, so these are not permitted because the final aim of the meditation is not concentration of mind. Concentration is only a help, a step leading to a higher goal, purification of mind, eradicating all mental defilements, the negativities within, and thus attaining liberation from all misery, attaining full enlightenment. So let's read that again. Concentration is only a help, a step leading to a higher goal, purification of mind, eradicating all the mental defilements, the negativities within, and thus attaining liberation from all misery, attaining full enlightenment. Every time an impurity arises in the mind, such as anger, hatred, passion, fear, etc., one becomes miserable. Whenever something unwanted happens, one becomes tense and starts tying the knots inside, which is typically called in Hindi antarman ki gaante. Whenever something wanted does not happen, again one generates tension within. Throughout life, one repeats this process until the entire mental and physical structure is a bundle of Gordian knots. And one does not keep this tension limited to oneself, but instead distributes it to all with whom one comes into contact. Certainly, this is not the right way to live. You can come to the meditation course to learn the art of living, how to live peacefully and harmoniously with oneself, and to generate peace and harmony for all others. How to live happily from day to day while progressing towards the highest happiness of total pure mind. A mind filled with disinterested love, with compassion, with joy at the success of others, with equanimity. To learn the art of living harmoniously, first one must find the cause of disharmony. The cause always lies within, and for this reason, you have to explore the reality of yourself. This technique helps you to do so, to examine your own mental and physical structure, towards which there is so much attainment. There is so much attachment, resulting only in tensions, in misery. At the experiential level, one must understand one's own nature, mental and physical. Only then can one experience whatever there might be beyond mind and matter. There is therefore then a technique of truth realization, self-realization, of investing the reality of what one calls oneself. It might also be called a technique of God realization, since after all God is nothing but truth, but love, but purity. Direct experience of reality is essential. Know thyself. from superficial apparent gross reality to subtler realities, to the subtlest realities of the mind and matter. Having experienced all these, one can then go further to the ultimate reality, which is beyond mind and matter. Respiration is a proper point from which to begin this journey. Using a self-created imaginary object of attention, a word or form will lead only in the direction of greater imaginings, greater illusions. It will not help one to discover the subtler truths about oneself. To penetrate to the subtler truth, one must begin with the truth, with an apparent gross reality, such as respiration. So Goenkaji just explained why it is important not to take help of any mantras, any chantings, any countings, any beads, or anything else. So the utmost focus is on truth. Truth within the framework of our body. So respiration is a point from which to begin this journey. Using a self-created imaginary object of attention, a word or form will lead only to the direction of greater imaginings, greater illusion. It will not help one to discover the subtler truth about oneself. To penetrate to subtler truth, one must begin with the truth, with an apparent gross reality such as respiration. Further, if a word is used or the form of real deity, then the technique may become sectarian. A word or form will be identified with one culture, one religion or another, and those and a different background may find it unacceptable. So one core reason why it is not allowed to use any image is, in fact, this is the place where the most pure teachings of Buddha are taught, and you won't find a single image of Buddha or a statue of Buddha anywhere in that huge premises where the Vipassana typically happens across the centers around the globe. Why? Because Goenkaji doesn't even want to associate it with Buddhism. And in fact, Buddhism was not something Buddha ever wanted to invent. Buddha was a pure soul who got enlightened through a practice of Vipassana, and his whole soul intention was, through the rest of his years of life, from 35 when he attained this liberation till the age of 80 when he achieved this Mahanirvana, Parinirvana. His aim was only to give this teaching to each and everyone, help everyone get out of the misery. That was the only goal, and creating a religion or anything was never the goal, and it never happened during his lifetime. Almost 300 to 500 years later is when all these different forms of religions have appeared in Buddhism itself, so different traditions rather. So misery is a universal malady. The remedy for this malady cannot be sectarian. It must be universal. Awareness of respiration meets this requirement. Breath is common to all. Observing it will be acceptable to all. Every step on the path must be totally free from sectarianism. Breath is a tool with which we explore the truth about oneself. Actually, at the experiential level, you know. At the experiential level, you know very little about your body. You know only its external appearance, the parts and functions of it, and you cannot consciously control it. You know nothing of the internal organs which operate beyond your control, nothing of the cells of the entire body and what it is composed of, and when they are changing every moment, and which they are changing every moment. Innumerable biochemical and electromagnetic reactions are occurring constantly throughout the body, but you have no knowledge of them. On this path, whatever is unknown about yourself becomes known to you. For this purpose, respiration will help. It acts as a bridge from the known to the unknown, because respiration is one function of the body that can be either conscious or unconscious, intentional or automatic. One starts with conscious, intentional breathing and proceeds to awareness of natural and normal breath. And from there, you will advance into the still subtler truths about yourself. Every step is a step with reality. Every day you will penetrate further to discover subtler realities about yourself, about your body and mind. Today, you were asked to observe only the physical function of respiration, but as at the same time, each one of you was observing the mind, because the nature of breath is strongly connected to that of one's mental state. As soon as any impurity, any defilement arises in the mind, the breath becomes abnormal. One starts breathing like rapidly, a little heavily. And when the defilements pass away, the breath again becomes soft. The breath can help to explore the reality not only of the body but also of the mind. The reality of the mind which you began to experience today. It has a habit of always wandering from one object to another. It does not want to stay on the breath or any single object of attention. Instead, it runs wild, and when it wanders, where does the mind go? By your practice, you have seen that it wanders either in the past or in the future. This is the habit pattern of the mind. It does not want to stay in the present moment. Actually, one has to live in the present. Whatever is in past has gone beyond one's reach until it became present. Alright, so maybe we can stop here and we can start from here again in the next session. From page number 30, I guess, in this version. Right? We'll start from this. Today you were asked, and continue. Alright, so thank you for being here. Let's meet in the next session. In the next session, we'll try to keep it more objective, less theoretical, as the Vipassana practice actually wants it to be. Alright, thank you.